All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. I hope everybody is doing well, and I'd like to welcome those who are here with us today. Before you, you have a copy of the agenda. We'll need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next order of business, we're going to have the approval of the minutes. Before you, you have your January 25th, 2018 minutes and your February 22nd, 2018 minutes. If there's no errors or mistakes or any additions or deletions, we'll entertain a motion to adopt those as well, and we can do that in one motion.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, let's go to item number 5. We're going to start discussing the event since our last meeting, and I'll turn it over to Glenn to lead us off. Glenn, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, the first thing that you've had is the St. Patty's Day Engineers Challenge, and I will summarize what is there on page 17 in your document. That basically 590 registered, 472 completed, and 708 estimated attendance. This is so close to when they don't have the results back from their survey, so that we'll get the room nights at your next occasion there, and we'll share that with you as it was too. The other event was the Semper Fi Beat the Bridges races. This was a pretty interesting, cool morning out there as it was, but you can see that it drew a good crowd, and they were very pleased with it as it was there. There was lots of spirit, and of course the scenery was pretty good down there at the time with going over the bridge and being able to look like on it. And I'll defer to Teresa if she wants to mention anything about these upcoming events and any movements that's on those.
Thank you. We have coming up the Mud, Sweat, and Tears Run, which is part of the Grand Prix series. So things are in line for that, looking well for registration, but we'll get a nice little push in the end. We always do. Jamboree is underway with some promotion. We're moving forward with that. And then we've got the Sensational Beach Run, which is aboard Camp Lejeune as well. And the last thing on the list here is National Night Out. We all know about that one.
Another year going by.
Wow.
Like a flash.
And if you remember, for Tourism Promotion Fund, that starts September 1st and goes through August 31st because we have to pre-buy the publicity, obviously. So we adjusted that so that we were more in line with our spending to the fiscal year as it was there.
Any questions? Thank you for that update. All right, next order of business, we're going to go through the strategic initiative, collaborative strategy. Glenn?
Well, I must tell you, this was a particularly interesting exercise. We had some great people with us, and I was really pleased with that as it was. Our goals when we set together were to be collaborative as we possibly can. We wanted to see how the authorities, which obviously our partners are here every time we act, how we could align what it is that particularly the Chamber does for county tourism and how our other partners are. We wanted to have a strategic package of which the first brush of it is in front of you, and I'm going to tell you that it was a lot to get put together at the end of Tuesday, and then to try to get it to you for today as it was there. We hustled, and so there may be some errors in it. Hope I don't get called out on them too badly. But we also want to start looking at budget, because obviously some of the things that you do, you've got to be prepared to pay for them as it was. And so we responded to looking at those budgets. Now, a side value of this was also that we did the Tourism Promotion Fund, and we worked on that as it was too. But basically, we had a really variety of folks around the table, but many of the faces you already know as it was there. Not present today is Susan Dozer, who came in for this event. Obviously, Teresa Beecham, who is our partner here. We also, of course, had our partners from the Chamber helping with tourism promotion, and that was Laurette and Kristen. And then they also brought along Donna Hammonds, who's been named as the heir apparent of Kristen's departure that we're sad about, as it was. And Scott Smith was there. Kevin Riopel and Kim Tillman were also present to help us, and they offered strategic thoughts. And Kim has become the heir apparent to administrating our partnerships program that we have with the state. And obviously, she is principal architect of many of the promotion pieces that we provide to others in there. Her and Lisa Miller are key among those things. Kevin does most of the video and digital signage and all those other wonderful things. And of course, Alan helps where he can at the Alan Covey as a part of it. But we really did find that there was a significant value, and when we particularly looked at the Tourism Promotion Fund, of the involvement of the TDA's funding and its expertise. We also found that our strategic actions largely are aligned, and that they're collaborative and we think very cooperative. That each side needs to judge that on their own. I think they're pretty cooperative. And the partnerships are particularly strong and have good meaning. And as mentioned, we wanted to talk about that TDA spending plan that we're giving you an extraordinarily rough draft on today. We talked about the many projects that were already underway as part of the strategic initiative, and we found none that needed to be totally killed. There is one that we think that needs, we're evaluating it, and we don't know that we're going to renew that one at this time, but we're looking at that as it was. And in the what's working, though, we found some powerful testimonies on that, and particularly there was a lot of excitement about telling our story. We also met, as mentioned, with some of the people that are involved in the tourism promotion plan because there were some specific people that we wanted to talk face-to-face to as a group. We found that valuable because there was a great deal of exchange of information. Obviously, Susan Baptist from the City Recreation was part of that. She's the Director of Recreation Services, and she'll have to judge us also as to whether she found value in that meeting as it was. But we wanted to help ensure, particularly with a couple of them, that the tourism goals were being met. And we also met with some people might know her, but Misty Lee, she's writing for Our State magazine, and we wanted to make sure that we were in line with providing her some items for that magazine as it was there too. And we did find we agreed on many things, and we particularly, after having looked at the strategies, we talked about impact, what's going to be the impact particularly of the visitor center, of the Sturgeon City building, of the sports center that we all wish to build. And we talked about the impact to the Tourism Promotion Fund and what that fund has been able to do for us, and talk to that end of the matter there. Some of the outcomes is that obviously apparent in the occupancy tax that's at the back of the book. Occupancy tax is up. And we're happy about that. That's good to be in the positive mode after seeing some of them that, for more than a year that we saw were going in the wrong direction. And we are seeing some significant responses to promotional things that we're doing, where we advance some topic and a benefactor of that becomes apparent immediately. And that's really good, that those type of things that we do happen. This 14,500 room nights, we can attribute that to what the Sports Commission does and what the Tourism Promotion Fund does. We don't have a way of measuring what our other items are, and that's been one of the things that Susan Dozer and others have said, we're trying to find some more metrics that we can gauge that impact as to how we convert those people who participate in whatever promotion we're putting out, that it turns into a night in a hotel that Chris or Miguel and others, benefit from as it was. Our strategies, among those that we wish to keep significantly, is telling our story. We've got some powerful stories. The story about Montford Point, the story about cruising the river with a retired Marine that tells wonderful stories as he does it. Our respect for military heroes, that's what's shown in the Lejeune Memorial Gardens. We're going to talk more about that a little bit later as part of Lisa Maravito's part of it, but today we had a reunion group there, and we want to, let them feel that. And what we wanted them to really feel was a hero's welcome, that they're welcome here, and that hopefully some of them some of them have indicated they might want to live here afterwards, but we found that that was part of one of the strategies that we did. We also need to seize the opportunity. This year represents the 35th anniversary of the Beirut bomb blast. There's going to be some pretty significant things happening at the observance. It's the 20th year of the New River Restoration, the Wilson Bay Initiative, and the Sturgeon City projects. The search continues for those unrecognized Montford Pointers, that their families can be made aware of the honor of them having served in that segregated world of that 1942 to 1949, and that we wish to recognize them and make sure that they get the congressional medal. And then, of course, the 4th of July event. You know, this is an event that the base opens to the public, and in receiving a hero's welcome, it's a real time that you can connect to military base. I mean, you know, at the invitation of the military. And so we want to use that type of opportunity also, as it was. The other is a Bargain Beach. You might remember that Ms. Randall, she really drove that home to us about that that's something that we should particularly do. And the idea is that you come here for adventure, family fishing or something, or you're visiting your friends or neighbors or relatives, and you can visit the beach from Jacksonville. These hotel rooms are less expensive here than some that are down by nearer the water, as it was. And another strategy was to target those meeting room users, the people who might be having some business meetings or things that affect that. We've now got some meeting room space that can be used, and we have other spaces that can be adapted to that use, as it was. And food and dining, I must admit to you, this is something that's been, you know, the tourism professionals like Kristen and of course Susan Dozer, you know, tell us about this this novelty that some, in my humble opinion, you know, they have, that they want to travel somewhere for unique food experiences. And we have multicultural experiences here. We have some that have made top 10 lists. We have some that are most unusual, as it was too. And of course, the distillery that we have here and the other unique foods and activities that involve toward that end. And obviously outdoor activities, that fishing, canoeing, kayaking, anything that gives that unique experience and lets you feel that. That's where we're going out. We know that sometimes you know, they seek out special types of accommodations, and that's a good thing. We want them to be here, as it was. We also, along that line of experiential activities, that German Oktoberfest, one of the conversations we had with them is that they must maintain that authenticity, that if they're not on point to that, they're going to lose some people who come because it's an Oktoberfest. Many people in the community might come to support it because who it supports, but those who travel are going to want to come because it's German food, German beer, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously, the Grand Prix series follows on the line of experiential activities because many of those things mimic the training the Marines get, or in the case of the Engineers Challenge, that course that they run, put those guys through regularly out there, as it was. And the retired Marine hosted river cruise is an example of that. There's where we connect to those who live among us, those heroes that live among us, and they tell those stories and they give that authentic hospitality and such there. And then some collaboration that we've generated from this is we're partnering on Coast Host with them. It was at the invitation that we've joined that organization. The Military Reunion Project that Kristen and Lisa are wearing their proud shirts for there. You know, that is such there. But we've also going to do an Our State thing and some other activities such as that, as it was. One thing the panel wanted to mention specifically is that there are some activities that we've reviewed that are absolutely cannot grow any larger because of space. Period. Amen. No matter how much we spend, we're not going to get more people to some of those activities. Now, the goal is to get more out-of-towners than local people at some of these events so that we can benefit what it is that we're doing. And that's part of the conversations that we've had with some of these groups. And that some spaces just aren't available. It's not there for us as it was. We've got a lot of work to be done. We have to build more of the messaging, particularly the outdoor enjoyment and outdoor activities, sports and events, and military connected. On that military connected, it's one of the first placements that Kim Tillman put together was connecting coming to our area to celebrate, to observe the memorials that Pat Walker and those others have put out there at the gardens, and let people feel that experience on a Memorial Day. And so that's part of the messaging that we're doing there too. The tour development, obviously, you're going to hear more today. We've had a successful launch. There's no doubt about that, as it was. And we have others that we want to, seek out to be a part of this, as it was. The docent project will demonstrate hospitality. We got more work to be done on that. And we've got to create that invitation that lets people know that they've got a reason to extend the stays. After all, if they're here with our partners, we want them to find a reason that the front desk person to say, you really ought to go over to, or, things such as that to help be invitational to have them do something that causes them to extend their stay. And then pushing reunions that's going to be unmatched in the hospitality that's going to be provided. I'll tell you today, seeing one of them, Kristen and Lisa, they were being extraordinarily attentive to the needs of those people who were part of that reunion, and this was good. And of course, the bargain travelers, not just the bargain beach travelers, but those that want to look at, something that's a good buy for them, as it was. We want to advance our reputation for great retirement destination. And again, not referring everything back to Lisa's and Kristen's thing today, but there was clear testimony among some of those people there that they wish to consider now coming back to our area. They want to potentially be here. And we want to build some marketing. They say that people who are considering retirement, that they sometimes vote, is like an average of 7 times that they will have visited a community before they make that final decision. Well, they're going to be staying with our hotel partners. They're going to be staying somewhere. So, why not try to recoup some of that with our excellent Naval Hospital, all the other amenities that we have, and our cost of living, to be sure. And meeting business. This is not something that, as an authority, we have gone after. So we're going to try to see what strategic actions we can take to do that. And we've got to finish writing the strategic plan. There was a lot of stuff they left on the table that we're still trying to read our writing so that we can get it out, as it was. Our kudos to people like Carmen that can just turn that stuff out and make it look good instantly there. Carmen was not with us.
Carmen with us.
Carmen. But I want to just invite them, to speak on this and to just talk a little bit about the matters. I do want Kim to talk to you a little bit about those state partnerships that we've got, and Laura, I'm going to ask you if you'll just lead it off and just talk about your impressions of our little affair of 2 days.
Well, I guess the one thing that stuck out to me from the process, if I remember correctly, when you first started your funding with events and festivals, it was either 23 or 25 different things you were funding. Now we're down to 13, 14?
A little less than that now.
Okay. Quality events that are generating the overnight stays, that's getting the awareness of this. So that was my takeaway. And then again, we're all hearing it more and more because people are wanting to come to this area and we're turning them away. We're turning them away because we don't have room to meet their needs. And I've said it before, the Commons is phenomenal to work with, but we're wearing that place out. It is a gymnasium. It's not a convention center, and we're trying to operate it as one. And that's taxing on the staff, and, we bend over backwards. We try to be good partners because if we didn't have that, there would be no Bridal Expo, there would be no Business Expo. There's no, and we're, as Glenn says, we're at capacity. We're at capacity. So those were my 2 takeaways, that, we're funding the right things and we need to move forward to start, instead of just talking, we need to start building a multipurpose facility. That was my main takeaway from spending 2 days with these people.
It was a lot.
Sounds so excited.
I can't stand sitting that many hours.
All right, Kristen, it's your turn.
Well, I won't, beat the same drum or anything. But to add to it, I think my biggest takeaway is I think everything's going on the same path. Not collaboration and our cooperation and everything. And it's big. I think everybody in that room was kind of on the same page and very open to a lot of stuff. And I'm very excited to see where it goes from here.
Thank you. Scott?
I will beat the same drum. Sitting here representing the Sports Commission, obviously I would love to see a multi-purpose facility, but one of the things I've said, just after even being here a few months, just from conversations with folks, and then especially after meeting with all these partners, is exactly what Lorette said. So many things are at a max, or they can't have it here even to begin with because of space. And so, we keep saying multi-purpose, and sports is talked about a lot, but I think it'll be used for so many more things that probably we've not even thought of. And then in addition to that, I would also say it was a great group as we're sitting there talking, either amongst ourselves or with the different folks that we were meeting with, kind of just brainstorming. We solved a lot of the world's problems there in a couple of days with these groups, but it really led to great ideas that they seemed very open to taking and running with. So it was good meetings.
Thank you. Kim, you want to add?
I'd say the same thing when you hear about events that are turning people away when they could have gotten more people in. That definitely strikes a note.
Well, I think what would be good for us too is when you guys finish your plan and really maybe move some of that information over to us in terms of, some more quantitative stuff that we can look at and really understand what the needs are and what the lack of capacities actually are documented, because that's our world needs documentation and not just conversation. So that would be very helpful for us. So once you complete it and put it all together, if you can somehow get that to us so that we can utilize that information.
That testimony is not hard to find.
No.
Thank you.
Let's have Kim, if you would, just briefly, Kim, go over a couple of the things that are the state partnerships that we're proposing for next fiscal year.
Sure. So we're trying to spend the pink money as best we can next year, and we're partnering with Visit NC through LGA, and we're focusing on pushing more about memorials, bargain beaches, getting people in for outdoor activities and reunions and retirees. We're going to look into getting into Our State magazine, which I'm excited about. And we're going to be sending Susan Dozier to regional and state programs to talk more about what we offer.
This is where you go in and talk to people who are looking for travel stories and things like that, as we shared with you folks the story she got us out of Norfolk, Virginia, and those types of things.
So in terms of Our State magazine, you feel pretty confident we'll be in that?
Well,
next
we're working it from multiple angles. We hope to get editorial that part you don't pay for, from stories that we're going to advance there. But we are so paying for part of it, what we're getting through Coast Host, that we're going to actually pay for placements, a half page, and with our partners over here. So, I mean, we're helping them and they're helping us. I mean, that's the way that
That's what we
works.
want to hear.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
good collaboration.
to add to that, we have the past 2 years, since I've been here, we've been advertising in it. And it's very obvious the content that Onslow County has picked up since. So it helps a little bit,
Good.
for sure.
Good. Well, it's progress, and that's what we want to do.
And to speak to that also, the lead time is long for the editorial. So they're pitching stories that may not be, even on anybody's radar until 2019. So, but you got to start planting those seeds now and talking to all the right people. So I'm excited to hear that we're doing that. My biggest takeaway, I think, is there's a couple things. Number one, how far we've all come as a city authority, tourism authority, just since I've been involved. It's come a long way. Obviously, we're thrilled with the flip. That's just huge for our main overarching goal. And I think the collaboration with the county is so critical, and it's come a long, long way. Since Kristen's arrival, we have really started working together, and in the last year, just even on our messaging and making sure that the buys certainly aren't duplicated, but the targets are and the messaging is, and that's what will serve us all well.
And that's extremely important. And I think the county's putting a lot of effort, will be putting a lot more effort and emphasis on redefining its tourism budget from what we hear. So that's very optimistic that we have this great relationship and that we continue to work together towards a common goal. Because again, we serve the same people. So anyone have anything to add? Any questions?
I do. I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, that the Sports Commission, Tourism, the Chamber, document, I'm going to say it a little stronger than you did, document every time we have to turn somebody away, who it is.
Keeping up with it.
What
We got
could
a
have been
list.
here, because the only way that we're going to move this issue forward with the electeds and the public is to let them know what we're missing out on. And if we ever do get to the point where we're going to fund a facility, we've got to be able to sell that to the citizens and the electeds. And the only way to do that is to show them what they're missing. So we need to start documenting that every time we have to turn somebody away and get that information into our hands.
We've been doing it since we've collaborated with your TDA to do these military reunions. Lisa's been keeping up. Holly started it. Lisa's still doing it. And we've got a list of all the ones that called and we couldn't even accommodate, or we didn't even bid on them because we knew we couldn't do them.
Great, thank you. Great.
And I'm sure Susan's got a long list of sporting events that she has to turn away because of capacity issues as well.
Okay, great, thank you, and that was a great presentation. Look forward to seeing the final results.
I do too.
Well, there's another comment I'd like to make, and that is that when we finally were successful, the city, in building the Commons, it had been over 25 years since they had last built something, which was Jack Amietta. Guess what, folks? It's 25 years again.
Wow.
The Commons is almost 25 years old.
I didn't realize that.
I knew it had some age on it.
Well, and the key ingredient is when we get to that point, we want to make sure that it is well thought out, and we want it to be a success. We want it to be the right size. We want it to be a success and not a failure. And so we need to ensure that our data and our process is accurate. And I think taking time helps you make better decisions. So please keep moving it forward. Please keep providing the information. Leadership's working our part on what needs to be done from our side. And together we can make something good happen. So thank you. Glenn, next order of business is reports and development. Is that,
Oh, that's.
or do you want to move into Sturgeon City
Yes,
update?
it's on page 19 of your document there. That's the draft report.
Okay.
Which I spoke there,
Which you
sir.
talked about.
So,
okay.
yes, it's
So
there.
next order of business is going to be the Sturgeon City update.
Yes.
Please.
Paula has gone out on maternity leave, and so consequently, I'm just going to stand in for her tourism
Okay.
report here. Bottom line, we also had a similar type of conversation with the strategic panel there. This is a recent day. You can see the steel actually going up, and things are progressing along as it was at the site. Part of what tourism development is obviously it's going to provide some meeting space. It's not going to blow the top off of anything that we already have, but it is going to provide additional meeting space over there. And in and of itself, some of the programming that's being designed by Sturgeon City will generate overnight stays because of the nature of that program that they're going to have to draw people from other communities and then receive this programming. After all, this is a unique project that took place at this site of a community that restored a river. And so some of those same types of mitigation processes are going on now that people want to come and see. Many of you might have noticed that UNC Marine Institute has now installed a canopy of sensors down there documenting wetlands, how they're receding from the water and vice versa. It measures how much those wetlands even clean the water down there. So, I mean, it's pretty exciting, some of the things that are down there. But one of the most things that we kind of look at from our point of view is what space is going to be available. So city staff has worked together among many disciplines here, and these numbers are preliminary. No capacity numbers, as our gentleman to the left know, are actually, you cannot use them until, and claim them for your own until you actually inspect the site. So when the fire marshal has to go and see that it was built according to the plans and such like that. So with that caveat having been said, you can see these are them. They do think, and I will say this, that there might be some room for these numbers to go up in a couple of places. But again, we'd rather use the lower numbers here to do this type of stuff. So, I mean, it's for a standing reception, 500, with all the doors open out there, and, you know, the rooms that can be out there, and particularly when you're looking at having a head table, a lectern up at the front, and some things like that, it should sit 420 comfortably. And these numbers generated mostly from an architectural layout that shows some nice space around the room so they can be bussed and things like that. All of us have been exposed to some event in which it's a little too crowded. So these are kind of comfortable numbers that are out there as it was. Documents are being prepared to work on that for recruitments, the AV and visitor experience enhancements. One of the things that the group found and looking at other competition that'll be out there, you have to have wireless. You've got to have AV that's extraordinary. You can't just have a projector and a screen, you know, it's got to work well and to go from that effort. And to give the credit to the Sturgeon City Board, they have packed them on the bus and taken them to a number of locations to look at what's out there and what's done. And they've got another trip coming up, I think, April 10th or so, to go and look at that. And these are their findings as to what they have to have there as it was. So that's the status of the report with our partner, Sturgeon City, at this moment.
Glenn, what phase are they in? I noticed some, I think Richard sent a picture that it was starting to come up.
Yes.
Do you have anything?
No, that.
Okay, it's okay.
I mean, that picture right there is
Right.
the one that Richard sent out. That was from like Tuesday of this week, Monday or Tuesday of this week. I don't recall which day it was, but that's it. And it's, the steel is there.
Okay, thank
They are
you.
tying it up.
Any questions? Okay, thank you, Glenn. Now I'll turn it over to Scott.
Okay, thank you. So in your packet, you'll see a couple of event recaps. The first one is the Marine Chevy Quick Stick. You see we had 135 room nights. These are obviously estimates based on number of out-of-town teams and number of people on the team, et cetera. We had 29 teams, we had 640 players, and we sold 681 tickets at the gate. Those were all highs. I think this is the third year for the Quick Stick. These are all highs for that event. Estimated economic impact using our National Association calculators, 104.5 there. And then the next event, that was the very next weekend, is the Bojangles Battle at the Beach. And you'll see it, 405 room nights. We had 18 teams from around 2 hours or more away, 900 players. We partner with Swansboro and Jacksonville Soccer there. They do not keep exact records of the gate because on the Friday night games, the schools get to keep the gates and then they move on Saturday. So I don't have exact numbers on family and friends, but two great back-to-back events there at probably what we would all consider a slower time of year at the end of February, 1st of March. So, and then I'll just kind of jump all over the place a little bit here and update you on a few things. Obviously, two big events coming up here in just a few weeks with the Hall of Fame and the boxing that we've talked about. I don't think last time we were here we had this solidified, but NC State women's basketball coach Wes Moore will be the keynote speaker at the Hall of Fame. He's a friend from back in the Chattanooga days when he was coaching there and agreed to come in, and as it turned out, P. Shepard Easton, who's being is being inducted, he recruited her when he was at NC State originally as an assistant coach, so there's a good tie there. One of our brand new events this summer is the Carolina Orthopedics Jacksonville Classic Basketball. All those club teams are just now forming, so we're really starting to push that and promote that. Our football jamboree in August, I'm happy to tell you we've grown that to 20 varsity teams this year. So we got teams coming from a little further away. Just had a gentleman in town that's assisting us with a few events, primarily the New River Splash. And so on that Saturday, on September the 15th, we're going to have stand-up paddleboard races that'll go just about all day long with different categories, kids, adults. And then the very next day on that Sunday, we're going to do a triathlon. So we started New River Splash last year, just kind of as a festival, so to speak, and now we're going to have 2 new sporting events within that. And then we're also working with him. We've got something on the calendar already for January of next year. But happy to tell you that we have 5 recurring events that the Sports Commission is working on this year. We've already added at least 5 brand-new owned and operated events, in addition to the 10 to 15 to 20 that we support in some other way. And we talked one time in here about that we bid on Quidditch. We did not get that bid. I'm not crying. Kind of a weird
Not
thing.
have enough brooms, or what?
We did not have enough brooms. So, don't know, but we'll get, so in about 3 weeks, the staff will be in Minneapolis for our National Association of Sports Commissions. They will be there. We'll get to talk to them a little further. And then the other bid that we did recently was for a Grand Fondo cycling event. He has indicated, it's nothing official, but he's indicated that he wants to bring that event here in 2019. So I'll also be meeting with him to try to finalize that while we're there.
And what is that?
It's a cycling event that's a 30-mile, a 50-mile, and a 75-mile.
Oh, okay.
That's, again, you're bringing in competitive folks.
Yeah.
So should be some good room nights with that event.
And don't you have a kayaking event as well, or no?
No,
It
sir.
was just a paddleboard?
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Thank you. Any questions for,
Who won the Quibbit?
What's that?
Who won it?
Who got
We
it?
didn't.
They didn't say, and that we received an email, it was actually late yesterday, and it was just a generic letter that we were not selected, so,
Boo then.
yes.
okay, thank you, Scott. And now we'll turn it over to Lorette.
And I'm going to defer to Kristen and Lisa because they've been the one that's been doing
Okay.
the heavy lifting in tourism the last
Sounds
couple
great,
of
but
months.
before they begin, I guess we all, are sad that Kristen is leaving us. Today will be her last meeting.
I'll be here one more.
One more, okay.
Yes, sir.
Well,
My
then
last
we'll
day is
wait.
May 4th.
Then we'll wait.
So I'll be here in April.
Goodbyes, but-
I'll have Donna with me,
Okay.
so you'll get to meet her
Well,
officially.
anyway, since I started, Kristen is going to be leaving us. Her husband has orders to where?
New Orleans.
New Orleans, so
Yes, sir.
I guess she's going to need to go with him, so.
She'll dress up more for the last
Yeah, I hope so.
Oh, excuse me, Scott.
All right, well, we'll wait to say our goodbyes. I thought this was your last meeting. I apologize. All right, go for it.
For the record, we
Yes.
were given a tour today, and in case you didn't notice, it warmed up significantly
I'm
today.
just jealous. It's okay.
So I will not steal the thunder about the tour. I'm going to let Lisa talk all about that. But really briefly, you heard in the strategic plan, they were talking a lot about Bargain Beach. So to add to that, we actually started running our Bargain Beach digital campaign. It started at the end of February to try to get a lot of that spring break in the summertime. In addition to that, we're actually running as sort of to see how well it does, a ad that's targeted specifically for Atlanta, talking about the direct flights that people can take into OAJ. Because the Atlanta market tends to want to go to like Myrtle Beach and stuff like that. It's kind of a combo Bargain Beach, but also talking about a direct flight here. Because, Charlotte it's a 4-hour drive, so it's pretty drivable, whereas Atlanta, it's just about that borderline where you may not want to drive. So we're going to see how well that one does. Let's see, in addition to that, we recently updated the back end of our website, so trying to get some of the pictures and some content updated. There was a lot of some old information, everything on that. In addition to making sure it's all updated on the Visit and See website, because they've changed that, and apparently I'm the only one in the county allowed to go on and update all that stuff, so we'll make sure all that is.
Yes, you are.
Yes. I don't know if that's fortunate or unfortunate, but works out. We take care of it. So now, as you may know, they are transferring into a new website themselves. And so for about 2 weeks, their newer website's kind of down while they transition into it. So once that gets back up and going, we'll go in and make sure things are kind of updated to the best that they can be. I will be at a conference April 12th through the 14th for the Southern Women's Show in Raleigh, as we did last year. This is part of Coast Host. It'll be myself and Donna Hammonds again, so it's a little bit of transition, but also an opportunity for Onslow County to get some special push more than the rest of the coastal area. Hey, we're the ones who would go do it, so why not?
Yep.
And then April 23rd through the 25th, I will be in Myrtle Beach for Southeast Tourism Society Conference, their annual one. So that's more of like a professional development one. And then we are collecting the tourism event grants for the county until May 4th. So if you know anybody who has an event out in the county who needs to get theirs in, they can find the application on the county's website. They turn it in to myself or Lorette, and then we will hand it over to the county commissioners for them to go through. And then, with that being said, the rest of it's just wrapping up some current projects and sort of prepping for the transition, so.
Great, thank you.
Lisa?
Lisa?
Well, HMLA 167 is here. They came in on Monday, and tonight is their big banquet. We took them for a tour to Lejeune Memorial Gardens this morning from about 9 to 11:30. We actually extended the tour because we discussed Freedom Fountain. They wanted to see the Freedom Fountain, and then we discussed the USO, so we drove them past the USO. So we just kept moving it along, and they kept being very interested in everything. It was a really great tour. I was very happy with the way Fernando from base came out and discussed. We actually had Houston show up. We actually drug them over.
He was there for other reasons.
Yeah, so we saw him and we yelled at him and told him to come over. And then Joe Hool came out and presented him. This is something that we're doing with each reunion that we're helping. We're purchasing a brick and then having the Museum of the Marine present it to them while they're at the Lejeune Memorial Gardens. And so they were very thrilled with that. They were very shocked and kind of awed by it, and they thought it was such a great significance that their reunion will always be there. It is their 50th squadron's anniversary, and that's why they're in town. There was 83 rooms rented for a minimum of 4 nights, and so that equals 332 room nights. I do know quite a few of them came in early on Sunday, and then I don't know how many are staying another night. So we took a tour, and also today is significant because it's the National Vietnam War Veterans Day. So that was another great thing to be able to take them out there, have the history and tour. And also, just so happens, Pat and Lee's daughter is a part of the tour due to her husband being part of HMLA 167. So we had her out there speaking as well.
Okay.
It was the second string thing.
So, yes. The other great thing that we did do is I met them on registration day, presented them with bags, and answered any questions if they had any questions about what they can do, where they can go eat. And because of that, they took my recommendation, and a group of them on Tuesday night went to the Osprey. So they, just money there. I will say, when I was leaving, about 40 of them were standing at the bar, and Cindy King with them said that they keep closing it down about 2 a.m. So a little bit more than just room nights is being spent.
That's great.
They are very appreciative, and they are having a great time.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Great report.
And I want to just add quickly, remember Lisa was with us in our tour. We went to Columbus and saw how they handled it, and she has done well from that. That trip is paying off.
Yes,
Thank you.
I learned a lot from that one.
Any questions for Lisa or anything? Okay, thank you. All right, let's go through some budget matters.
Well, basically, it's time for us to do something to advertise your budget as it was there. So we're asking your authority to do that as it was. In your packet, and there's not a slide for this, is your draft budget. But this is not one of those complicated budgets, and I welcome Gail to speak to this end. It basically takes the money,
And moves it
takes
up.
out administrative, divides the rest by 2/3 and 1/3, and that's it.
And basically, we need a motion to set the hearing for the 19 budget at 1:30 Thursday, April 26, 2018.
I move we set a public hearing for the FY19 budget at 1:30 PM on Thursday, April 26, 2018.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, great, thank you. Now, on page 30 is the spending plan development.
And what this is extraordinarily rough. This is a plan and draft, and we present this to you to encourage you. You remember on those items that you see for meetings every year, this is the meeting where you start considering what would you like to see added, taken off, do whatever there. We've put in some numbers that's based on the 2 days we have spent together, and we have put those items in there. Obviously, that's out of the pink money, and we're trying to maximize our pink money and lessen, the need to go into reserve. But, we want to continue some of these practices that we have. And so while we're working on it, that's where we are now at this point. And obviously on the green money, we only put in there what you are obligated to do. It is your choice what else you wish to do. You do have a pending action in front of you. But, this is not the day you have to declare that, but if you have some other items that you wish to bring up, please do, and staff will work to get that into the budget.
Thank you, Glenn. Any questions?
Yes, I think I know the answer to this, but I want to make sure that it's correct. How long, John, this might be a question for you, how long, do we have a timeline to spend the capital expense money? Can we let it build up for several years?
I know of no law or
there's no-
requirement that says you have to spend it within a certain period of time
Okay. Thank you.
On either fund.
on either fund.
Either.
Thank you, John. Any other questions, Randy?
The visitor enhancement, that was the signage we looked at last time?
Yes.
Which, we got some things back from the designer and all that, so we're still working through that process, and we'll keep you updated on that.
It's going to be an iteration. The design hasn't changed from what you have. How to build that design
Yeah.
is what's out there.
Trying to
We're just
maximize efficiency of
Trying to get the money down on
Yeah.
that.
squeezing the dollar. Any questions in regards to anything here? We don't need a motion for this, I would assume.
No.
Yeah, okay, so this is just a rough, and now the most important part is collections.
Well, this is all good stuff there. I mean, basically, overall, your bottom line is you're up 7% from the same time a year ago. And this is great. I will tell you, and, our fellow collectors of this might say, that Western Boulevard area is, I mean, you look at it, that McDaniel Drive is 25% of, half that of that collection, basically, and all other areas. Online's kind of holding steady. It's just kind of, it is going to be above what it was last year. Last year was 13,000 in total, so I mean, it clearly will be above that as it was. But whether we're getting all of it or not, I don't know, but it's a number.
Well, and really, for this time of the year, a 7% increase is very positive, because typically this is a down.
Well, the
Coming out
beauty
of
is we're
Feb-
comparing the same period a year ago.
Yeah, and
so-
what I'm saying is it's typically, it's been a down cycle, so if we're moving the arrow up, then
Well,
for whatever reason, it's good.
yeah, and that's what,
Hopefully, it's our efforts, but.
and that's what that shows, that, Carolina blue line there is beating the Duke line there, and, which is
I
good.
wonder who designed this.
I think Mr. Hagan had something to do with it.
It looks like the Duke line's a lot higher than the Carolina.
But to the point there, it's, this is nice that this is trending this way. I mean, that just feels good there, that's nice. And,
So the prior slide mentioned 6 months, is that correct? That's not 6.
that's not 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
I neglected to change that one.
And Glenn, go ahead and lead us right into the one city moment.
Well, the one city moment that we selected was simply that was out there at the Beat the Bridge. Here you got together a number of people. Obviously, the Semper Fi Fund is a commendable organization that has volunteer leadership and just does great things for the service members they do. But we saw among the people who showed up that cold morning out there, lots of fathers, sons. There was one from even the city people out there and a lot of things like that. But this is the ROTC from aboard the base. And they ran in as a unit out there with their leader there. And you may have seen them when they're all dressed up and, they've done flag presentations, honor guard presentations for us multiple times for city events and things such as that. But here it was, and we just thought, they're part of this. They're coming off base, so to speak, to participate in this event that supports others. And that was just a commendable thing, but also to see the number of people that were out there because they knew the value of what the Semper Fi Fund has done and the excellent work that they do.
Very nice. Thank you. Directors' reports, anything?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Chris, Miguel?
Good job by the staff again.
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
it really is.
Thank you for a very, very good report and meeting. And again, I think the strategic plan moving forward is going to be a very valuable asset for all of us. If we don't have any further business, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
All right.